You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Hello, I'm Steven Willis from the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. He is Tom Vanderford. He joins us every single week, and we're going to talk today about Realtree helmets and uniforms and Georgia Southern, and we're going to predict and do all of that stuff before the game tomorrow. But first of all, Tom, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing wonderful, man. I'm doing wonderful. I'm excited that I'm going to get to go to Oxford and watch a football game Saturday night, so that's good.
On the Reaction Roundtable, you have to tell us what that experience is on Sunday now.
I sure will. Sure.
So, an interesting situation. On Wednesday, I guess it was released. The helmet from Realtree this year was released. And as a former Navy person, it made me smile. It genuinely did, because if you look at that helmet and the way it's done, it's like whenever you're on the deep waters of the sea and you got that seafoam. That's exactly what it reminded me of.
Yeah, me too. I thought it was pretty neat. I think we're using that for Oklahoma, right?
Yes. But technically, you can wear it multiple times. If they wanted to wear it multiple times this year, they could.
That is true.
Because it goes with the red jersey, it goes with the Navy jersey, and it goes with the powder jersey. So you could wear it up 3 times. And I guess theoretically, it would look really good if you wore it on the road with the powder numbers with that helmet.
Yeah, I think
that's a possibility as well. So on this game, what do you think of the helmet? What do you think of that Realtree thing? Is it better than the original? How does it look in your mind?
The dark Realtree, I like it. Of course, I'm a big fan of the white Realtree as well. So I think they really tried to do a good job when they're designing these helmets. Mr. Jordan does a wonderful job. He's a good ambassador for Ole Miss. And I really like it. Like you said, it kind of reminds me of seafoam. It's kind of neat.
Yeah. It's one of those situations where I guess if you're landlocked, if you haven't gotten out of Lafayette County in your whole life and everything hadn't been on the ocean and all that, you might not understand it. But like if you're in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico and when the water turns that really, really dark blue, and if you look down at the side of the boat, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
So not only that, here's the thing, and I repeat myself on these shows. If you listen to every one of my shows and you're like, Steve repeats himself, I do apologize. The whole reason I do that is so that Tom or Michael Katz or whoever my guest, I can get their perspective based off of what I'm saying. It's not me trying to repeat myself. It was just me trying to get the point across and get as many perspectives on that subject as humanly possible. And right now I'm hung up on uniforms. I just am. And I was thinking, whenever Ole Miss plays Georgia, if that game is what we think it's going to be, Ole Miss needs to wear the blue helmets with the numbers, either the red or the blue Navy jerseys, and the gray pants. And it'd be a tribute to Johnny Vaught, because the last time that Ole Miss has played in a game that could potentially be at the level that they play in that Georgia game was under Johnny Vaught in those uniforms. And I think that would be a very cool, almost tribute to the Vaught family. And honestly, this long journey that Ole Miss has made coming back.
I think that's a great idea. That uniform is very nice. It's original. It brings back the old days, and I just hope that we're undefeated when we play them.
If we're undefeated when we play them, we are at a minimum going to be third in the nation, I think, based off of the other games, because Alabama and Georgia will have played by then. Georgia and Texas would have played by then. So that leaves Ohio State, and Ohio State's not losing. But if Texas wins, they're probably not losing. So second or third is probably the area. If Georgia wins and they go through all that, they could end up at probably a 1-3 matchup when they meet it. Man, Vaught-Hemingway is going to be an absolute zoo that day. It's going to be a mess.
Make a prediction and say that we set our new attendance record for that game if that's the case.
It's interesting. Do you think they've gotten over 66,000 people in the first two games that weren't hard sellouts? They're hard sellouts for the rest of the year. So you have to think it's going to be north of that 66,400 number that got put out. So that's about 3,600 people. Do you think against Georgia, Ole Miss breaks 70?
I think Ole Miss can break 70 against Georgia. I really do. It'll be standing room only.
Yeah, I don't know where they're going to put them, but you have to figure if you can go from 64 to 66 just like that, you have to be in a situation to where there's got to be even more when standing room is available.
Yeah.
I mean, at a minimum, you're looking at 68 or 69 in that stadium, which will be a Mississippi record that'll never be broken.
Oh, never.
Yeah. It's ridiculous to think about what could happen. And not never be broken, because if Ole Miss plays Georgia and beats Georgia and they host a playoff game or something like that, and that game's in Vaught-Hemingway, yeah, they'll break it that day.
They sure will.
Yeah, because there's going to be 500,000 people in Oxford if Ole Miss hosts a playoff game. It's going to be absolutely nuts. Anyway, thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. When we come back, we are going to turn our attention to the Georgia Southern Eagles. So hang around for that, and we can get into all the good stuff surrounding Georgia Southern and how it can play out. I'm looking forward to that as well. So stick around for that. Passion, drive, and patience, the formula for winning championships, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. And with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need and the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home some huge wins. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay's Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. I want to welcome a new partner to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, and that is the College Corner, your one-stop shop for all things Ole Miss. Game day is just around the corner, and this week fans will be rocking powder against Georgia Southern. So head on over to College Corner to pick up that perfect game day gear. Whether you're gearing up for football, basketball, or baseball, College Corner has you covered. They're located right off Sisk Avenue, right across from the new Chick-fil-A, and they're getting into the store. It's a breeze, and they've got tons of parking. With all those that are living out of state, though, no worries. Visit collegecornerstore.com, where they turn around orders lightning fast. Trust me, this isn't a pitch. This is something that really happened. On Wednesday, I put in an order for one of the new SIP hoodies with the powder logo that we saw Lane Kiffin wearing against Wake Forest, already in the mail. There's a chance it might be here by Saturday, which we'll find out if that happens as well. So trust me, this is where I get all my gear, and it's just fantastic. So visit collegecornerstore.com or stop by College Corner today. All right, Tommy, let's turn our attention to Georgia Southern. And Georgia Southern is, I don't know, they struggle against the run would be a good way to put it. Ashton Genty from Boise State ran for 260 yards. Their backup running back added another 120 for 7 total touchdowns in a game that they only won 56-45. So Georgia Southern can score the ball, but their run defense, leaky would be nice.
Yeah, I think we'll expose that. We have a really good group of running backs. Our offensive line's coming together. We're going to have more depth than we've had all year on the offensive line. But I still think we're going to do some passing as well. I expect us to get a lot of opportunities to run the ball. I'm going to say that I look for Parrish to go over 200, and I think the other backs will go over 150 between all of them.
It sounds about right because let's just be real. This Ole Miss team has not ran for less than 250 yards. And I was looking at some stuff in the offseason from last year. And Quinshon Judkins at this point, after 3 games, had 170 yards and like 3 touchdowns. Henry Parrish Jr. has like 350 yards. And if they would have wanted to against Furman, he would be over 500 yards at the moment with 6 touchdowns.
That is correct.
Henry Parrish he might be the perfect running back to complement what Ole Miss wants to do running the football.
I agree. I think he's got a little bit more breakaway speed than Quinshon, and he's really good at the jump cuts. And I just think we haven't missed a step. But, we talked about it this offseason, and, I'll reiterate again, Lane Kiffin's going to have a running game.
Yeah, he's going to run the ball.
Right. And we're going to do just fine. We have every year he's been here, whether with Quinshon or not. But I think Q had a really good freshman year, and then his sophomore year was not that well. I think he got a little frustrated, and
I think you read the press clippings after his first year a little bit.
I agree. So I think it's working out for him, obviously, and I knew we would be okay. I'm glad to see other people are jumping on that bandwagon as well. But Parrish is a good back. He he left to go with Smith to Miami, and then now he's come back, and he's Lane Kiffin and Kevin Smith's type of running back. So we're going to be all right.
Yeah.
I do believe more than others that when we hit SEC play, we're going to see some Amos back there as well in some kind of situation. But that's just me.
Well, also, I think if you looked at what happened last year, Ulysses Bentley had remarkably similar numbers to what he has this year a year ago. So him waking up in October and getting going, that's not exactly a new thing. So there's going to be a game or two where Bentley shows up this year. The problem is you just don't have that volume runner, but I don't think you need it at this point.
As long as you've got a aggregate total of, 300 yards rushing a game or whatever the case may be, we're going to be fine. And I just think, just like you pointed out all off season, there's a reason why we have all these running backs. There's a reason why we have all these linemen. It's the 16-game season. So I'm looking forward to just seeing it all play out. I'm glad I'm going to be part of it Saturday night. I don't get to go as much games anymore because of my condition, but it's going to be fun to go and watch a game.
And it will be interesting because we're pretty close to it, to where Logan Diggs, whenever he comes back, he's somebody that's going to be thrust into this running back room, and it's just a little bit more depth.
Exactly. And, if he doesn't come back within a certain time, he'll have another year next year too. So I think
the earliest he can come back and keep his red shirt is the Arkansas game.
See, there you go. I just got a feeling that's when we'll see him then.
Yeah.
I think everything's planned. I think everything is with a purpose. I think our coaching staff is a big contingency group. They're a big, okay, what if this happens? What can we do here, there, and yon? So, I don't expect to see a lot of Jared Ivey this week. I don't think we really need him. I think we need to rest him up for SEC play. But, I did hear it's just a sprained ankle. But we've got depth. We can rest the guy, give him a break.
Yeah, and it should work. My guess is they're going to move Chris Hardy into that spot
Yeah.
Just for the heaviness that Ivy provides, and then Perkins is going to rotate with him. You might see Perkins a little bit more.
Yeah, I think we'll see Perkins on obvious pass rushing type situations. I think we're going to use our Perkins like LSU uses their Perkins. So,
except correctly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, when we come back, we will put our final touches on the Georgia Southern game with Tom Vanderford in his weekly segment. But right now, I do want to let you know we have a little bit of something different for you. Right now, through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get 3 weeks of a free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then, with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every single regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel at any time. You can get Ole Miss at minus 34.5 or whatever the line is right now. Or their national championship odds at 12-1 plus 1,200, and Jackson Dart's Heisman odds is plus 600. Whatever your flavor is, you can get it today. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and download America's #1 sportsbook. All right, Tom, let's do final predictions and everything. Talk about, first of all, before you give the score prediction, just describe how you think this game is actually going to play out and get you to what your score prediction is going to be.
I think we're going to start out doing really well. I think our offense is going to click. They're not going to be able to outscore us, obviously. Their passing game through 3 games is, I think the guys threw for 300 yards, and that'll help limit that with fact that we have the best run defense in college football right now, in my opinion. So I'm looking for another one of those 49-3 type games.
Okay, so you think they're going to make it yet another game without giving up a defensive touchdown?
Yes, I do.
Okay. I want, personally, I would be happier if Ole Miss won the game 52-10 than I would be 52-3, because I want the scoring thing to end, the touchdown thing to end, because it's become what I've described when I talk to Michael Katz and whoever is it's becoming like a late inning no hitter thing.
Right.
To where that's becoming a theme, and it's something that just doesn't matter. So I'm hoping for like a 52-10 type score and just kind of move on from there. Who do you think are going to be the big stars of this football game?
On offense, I think it's going to be Parrish and the other running backs. And on defense, I think it's going to be the middle of that defensive line. I think it's going to be Pegues and Nolan.
On this morning's podcast, I talked about how the Wake Forest game was about the interior defensive line, the Walter Nolan, J.J. Pegues. Those were the 2 defensive linemen that were really fighting. This is going to be a little bit different type of a ball game because the onus is going to be on Santarin Perkins and Princely Amon-Mielen or Chris Hardy or whoever is playing on that edge, because they will drop back a lot more than, say, Wake Forest. They do that crazy slow mesh. They're going to drop back. His spot's going to be different. This is a little bit of a dual threat quarterback, but I look for Princely Amon-Mielen and Chris Hardy and Santarin Perkins to get home early and often in this game.
That'd be nice. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see some of the freshmen defensive linemen get some more snaps as well. I think every snap that our 2 freshmen get will help us next year.
You're absolutely correct there. Anyway, thanks again for making Locked On Ole Miss your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Tom Vanderford in his weekly spot on the show. Tom, what do you got going on besides going to Oxford? When are you heading over there? Are you tailgating and all that stuff?
Yeah, I'm gonna tailgate in Oxford and have a good time. But I'm probably gonna get there around 2 in the afternoon and I'm not going to make it used to a BC before cancer. On a 6:45 game, I'd get there at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I just can't physically do that anymore. But I am going to give it the old college try and try to get about 4 hours worth of pregame in me.
Well, I hope you pull it off and it works well and you have a really great time. If you need anything, of course, holler at me. If I can help, I will help. But yeah, that should be awesome. It's a powder game, by the way.
Right.
You gotta wear the powder shirt.
Yeah.
And if you have a problem with that, you can go to College Corner and they can hook you up.
You sure can. And another thing, just real quick, this is a Grove Collective top. Just keep giving to the Grove Collective, how much ever you can. I saw a post on Twitter recently that one of the Ole Miss fans said they were on a fixed income and they were still giving $21 a month, and it was retweeted by the Grove Collective. So give what you can when you can, and it's all for a good cause.
Absolutely. Anyway, Tom, have a good weekend. I hope you have safe travels to Oxford, Mississippi from Corinth.
Yep.
I hope you enjoy the ball game. And anybody that's heading to Oxford tomorrow, please be safe. It's more important that you get there than you get there in a hurry. It's going to be there because it's always been there. Anyway, Tom, have a good weekend, buddy, and we'll talk to you next week.
Yes, sir. Hotty toddy.
Hotty toddy.